I really enjoyed Black Panther. I drove across the country not even knowing if I had the job, just knowing I was going to meet with Coogler. We started talking about films, and then out of nowhere, he was like, okay, here's the scenes you're going to do.
This time on the pod, we're talking with storyboard artist Simeon Wilkins about his experiences working in the entertainment industry.
He's worked on some amazing projects, including Uncharted. It's not exactly what you think. Black Panther, Hellboy, and more.
As always, there are time codes down in the description if you'd like to jump around to different points in the episode. Enjoy! Welcome back to Whatever You Want, where we talk about all media, movies, TV shows, video games, and beyond to give you the most interesting behind-the-scenes insights in filmmaking techniques. There are a lot of jobs in the entertainment industry.
We're interviewing entertainment industry professionals across all departments to hear their stories and give you an idea of what you might be interested in.
And without further ado,
let's jump into the show.
Simeon, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
I'm doing great. Excited to be talking with you today. As we mentioned in the intro, you're a storyboard artist primarily. Can you just give us a general overview of what a storyboard artist does?
Sure. It kind of differs between live action and animation. I mostly work in live action, which they're generally the same. What we do is we take the script and kind of work with the director and break that down into a visual language that can then be shared across all the other departments, kind of like a visual blueprint where the script is the sort of textual blueprint. What we do is create the visual language of what everybody can expect when they actually get into building a film, getting into shooting and visual effects and all that stuff. We sort of start very early in the process, almost like the first round.
Wow, yeah.
After the script's been written and a director's been brought on. Sometimes you'll get a production designer at the same time, but usually we're there pretty early on.
That's really interesting. That's awesome.
Yeah, we just basically draw whatever the script says, how the director would like to interpret that. And we just draw all day.
Yeah. I'm sure that doesn't get old ever.
No.
So how much of this film actually gets storyboarded? Is it like every single thing, or is it
depends on the film?
Yeah.
A lot of times, big tentpole movies like the big Marvel movies and stuff, the superhero stuff, you can have like 5 or 6 people drawing scenes, but we're mostly focusing on action and visual effects kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Or if there's a very specific visual the director wants to get across. Because in a lot of movies, you don't need to storyboard 2 heads talking to each other, people in a room just having words. But it happens sometimes. There are movies where I've boarded the entire thing from start to finish.
Wow.
Every scene for, just because.
Wow. Oh my gosh. How does that work? Like, do they bring on like multiple storyboard artists for bigger projects, or like can it be down to like just you for a project?
The bigger the project, the more there are. I'm finishing up a show right now where at one point there were 6 or 7 of us.
Oh, wow.
Because a lot of the studios, they want to get to the shoot. Everybody's excited to get to the shoot. So a lot of times they'll hire, 5, 6, 7 of us, just so you've got a lot of people working really fast and you get a lot of stuff taken care of in a shorter amount of time.
So then how does that split up then? Like is it like sequentially, like you guys are working like,
yeah,
or is it like somebody's good with like action shots and you have somebody that's just like dedicated to that, and then you have like how does that work out?
It depends on the show and who you've hired, because everybody's a little different. Everybody's style is a little different. Every director's reaction to what you're doing is a little different. Yeah. But usually it's just broken down by scenes,
Okay.
You're like, okay, I want to give you, the director generally chooses. Sometimes we get to pick, which is really fun, because you can read a script and really sort of feel a scene while you're reading it and be like, oh, that would be really, really dope to draw.
That's awesome.
And then
that's really sweet.
You can ask for that one and sometimes you get it, but
yeah. I imagine, is it tough to like, when you're working with a bunch of artists to like kind of have a unified vision, like with like what you're saying, like the competing styles?
I don't think people worry too much about it.
Okay.
Because it's so early in the film, there isn't really a unified sort of style yet. You've got, sometimes if it's just me, I'm just making stuff up, because there's nobody, nobody there to say, oh, this is what, this magical thing looks like. There might
Right.
be a description of it in the script, or the director might have some ideas. They might have some concepts already, but a lot of times you're just kind of making it up as you go, just to get the sort of feel of the scene, the sort of tone down, so the director can start sharing it with other people and saying, oh, this is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's really cool, because that kind of seems like you have a big impact on like how something is going to feel, or like a lot of creative input in the beginning. Like I know when it gets like post-production and like you're editing, they might not have as much say, because like everything's been shot already and all the decisions are kind of getting locked in.
Yeah, well, yeah, this is why I like it. This is one of the most collaborative parts
Yeah.
of filmmaking, where you get to sit, with somebody whose job it is to sort of take the heat for all of this.
Right.
The director he gets to take all the credit, but he also gets to take all the heat. But it's just kind of you and the director kind of figuring stuff out, and you get really excited about sequences, and of course it's going to change as they shoot. The logistics of shooting and budget stuff comes in, and because when we're storyboarding, it's almost like I'll tell directors, do you want me to do the kitchen sink version, which is where I throw in every
Okay.
good idea I can think of. And it's usually this giant, huge mishmash that you end up just chopping down and whittling down. But, some people just like to start with all that. Yeah, give me everything. Budget be damned. Show me how big it can be. And then and then we'll play to reality.
Kind of reel it back. That's cool. Yeah, that is awesome. I want to get into some of the specifics of like the projects you've worked on, but before we get there, I kind of want to take a step back and just ask like how you got started, and if you could kind of tell how you got into this industry. I guess I know that's a loaded question.
No, I didn't know I wanted to do this. I did art school for 7 years, I think it was.
Wow.
Got my master's degree at Penn State.
Yeah.
And then realized I didn't want to teach.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to be a part of the gallery system. I didn't particularly like that very much. So I discovered storyboards on a DVD of all things.
Wow.
I saw as a special feature on the Gladiator DVD, I saw the storyboards for that movie and went, wow, I want to do that. Yeah, that looks like fun. Just, because I was really into comic books and drawing comic style, but I knew I wasn't good enough for like the big leagues in comics. So I just kind of came out to Hollywood, did the thing that everybody does, where you just kind of pack up and move to LA for a little bit and see what happens. And that was the idea.
Yeah.
And I got a job at a video store, which was like 2 blocks from my place. So it was a really easy walk, but it was also one of the places where every celebrity in Hollywood would come and buy movies and stuff.
That's crazy.
Day one, I'm dealing with, actors, as customers. And it was really, really interesting to get used to. But then directors start coming in. I start noticing people. I start like, oh, there's Tarantino, there's Soderbergh, there's Singer.
Wow.
And I start talking to these guys, just asking them, you just while they're doing stuff, not pressing anybody. So like,
Right.
hey, where do you I'm trying to figure out storyboards. Do you use them? Blah, 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 blah. And I was starting to put together a little portfolio of stuff. But it wasn't until, I did get Singer took a portfolio from me.
Awesome.
Based on a visit at the store. I got to go to the X-Men 2 offices and just to look around.
Oh,
That's
that
freaking
is
sweet.
so awesome.
I didn't get the job because they were done boarding, but I did get to see a lot of what was going on in filmmaking.
Wow.
But it wasn't until Guillermo del Toro came in and started shopping.
Oh my gosh.
And he came in a couple of times. And I would say this was like, I just put in my 2 weeks notice because I was moving, and Guillermo came in and Blade 2 had just come out. So I knew he was doing Hellboy next. That's
Yeah.
I saw Blade 2 with a friend, and he was like, oh, he's doing Hellboy next. I was like, oh, that would be fun. And so he came in, and I flat out just asked him, said, hey, I hear you're doing Hellboy. Do you need a storyboard artist? And he just kind of looked at me like sideways, like, he had no idea who I was. It was some guy selling him videos. So I showed him some samples that I always kept with me under the counter, just in case. And he gave me a week. He said, yeah, I'll give you a week on Hellboy. Sure. Just taking a risk. And it took a while to get, it took a few months before we were actually able to get going. And then I started my week. It was film school, jam packed into like just a week, figuring out how to do everything, because I didn't know how to do any of the professional, like I didn't know any of the terminology surrounding any of this. I just knew I could draw, and I knew I could draw what Guillermo wanted me to draw. So I did my week, and then I said, so what's up? And Guillermo just kind of said, I'm going to chain you to the fucking desk. and I got to stay on Hellboy for almost a year.
Wow.
That is awesome.
I think it was like 8 months. We went to Prague. It was a really great way to learn everything I needed to know about a lot of stuff, especially once you finish a job, how to get the next job.
Yeah. What's it that
especially
look like
when I didn't know anybody. Oh, I didn't work for 5 months after Hellboy.
Wow, that's gotta be stressful.
It was very stressful. I almost left LA.
Wow.
And then I got the next gig, and it just started moving after that. So
that's awesome. There were so many, like, I don't know, there's like nuggets of wisdom I feel like people listening could like take out from that. Like just like you getting that job and like just meeting people. Like I feel like so much of this industry is just about like your network and how the people Yeah,
a lot of it's luck too.
Yeah.
Just like who you're gonna run into.
Yeah.
Who you run into, and who's not an ass.
Right.
Who's willing to talk to you. 'Cause some people are more friendly than others. And I got really lucky with Guillermo, who happens to be one of the friendliest people I've ever met.
That's awesome.
That's sweet. That's
I'm
really
wondering
sweet.
if like this video store is still around. I doubt it, but I kind of need a job maybe.
No, it wasn't like a mom and pop thing. It was a big old what was it? It was a Virgin Megastore.
Oh wow, okay.
Oh.
It was like on the corner of Crescent Heights and Hollywood. I think that's where it was. I'm pretty sure it's not there anymore.
Right. I mean, with streamers
but
and everything.
the center, the building where it was, is still there. And
yeah,
a lot of normal people would go, but if you were famous in some way, you'd go to this Virgin Megastore. It was like 2 stories. It had all the music down below and all the movies up top.
Yeah.
Crazy celebrities would show. Like my first day was I helped Kirsten Stewart and Tobey Maguire.
Oh
no, Kirsten Dunst. Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
Kirsten Dunst and Tobey Maguire, like during the Spider-Man thing.
Wow.
You knew them as Peter and Mary Jane, and they just kind of showed up and was like, "We want these." I was just like, what am I looking at? What are you people doing here in reality? And it you get used to it really fast,
Yeah.
I would say the biggest one though was Michael Jackson. They closed the store for Michael.
Oh my gosh!
I had to show Michael Jackson where the Bruce Lee movies were. So it was a really interesting job.
That's not. Yeah, I mean that's an incredible job.
Yeah.
And I saw more celebrities at that job in like the year that I worked there than I have in the past 20 years in Hollywood. Yeah.
Wow. What you said though, also just about like luck and who you run into, but I think a key part of your story you said was like you had been working in like building a portfolio. I think there's like some saying where it's like luck is where like opportunity like meets preparation, and like you were prepared, like you had been doing the work and building a portfolio. And then also just another like nugget of wisdom, like when you just like jumped in for that week, like just jumping in, you didn't like I feel like a lot of people could be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, and like kind of like back away, but you just like went for it and like learned on the job. Like sometimes you got to get in over your head to like.
It was very nice. Guillermo, here's the thing about Guillermo though, which was perfect for somebody like me, was that he knew all his shots, beforehand. He just needed somebody to draw them prettier than he could.
Okay, gotcha.
He would do little thumbnail drawings, little sketches for me for pretty much every shot in the movie. Everything he needed me to draw, I'd be like, this is what's happening. And, and then you just go through and do a nice pretty version that everybody else can understand what else is going on. So, I learned a lot about how, composition and flipping the line and, action direction, all this stuff from Guillermo while we were doing it. So it was really perfect.
Is flipping the line, like, is that the 180 rule? Like not crossing that? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah. I did it really early and
oh, really?
I got I got yelled at for it.
Hey, that's how you learn.
Yeah, you
You don't know what you don't know.
Like, okay, what are you talking about? You did the wrong thing. So I don't know what I did. So, but I figured it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome. All right, I kind of want to, now we talked about like how you got started, I kind of want to jump into just some of the projects you've worked on and like some of the specifics on like just things you've been doing, I guess.
I'll do my best to recall.
Yeah, I mean, some of the like highlights, like I saw like you said, Hellboy and Black Panther. Like what was it like, I guess, working on Black Panther? I'm really curious
Black
about
Panther
that.
was great. I really enjoyed Black Panther. I really liked the director, Coogler.
Yeah.
We hit it off kind of right away. I worked really hard to get that show,
How so?
to get on that show.
Yeah.
I knew I really wanted to do it. He was one of my favorite characters growing up.
Yeah.
So like all these Marvel movies are coming on and I haven't worked on any of them. I've had a couple of, at this point I'd had calls for like reshoot stuff on like Captain America and Thor and stuff, but I wasn't a part of the Marvel thing. And I was working on Fast 8 of all things.
Oh, wow.
I got to know some of the people on that show and they had done a bunch of other Marvel stuff. So it was again, networking. I got to know some new people on Fast 8 and I let them know, oh, I'm really interested in doing this Black Panther thing. Do you know anybody involved? And eventually, a producer reached out because somebody said something to somebody.
Right.
You never know who does the recommending. It's all just people talking and all of a sudden, a name pops up. And luckily I've got a name that doesn't just fade away. If you're like, oh, that one's weird. So yeah, I was living in Mechanicsburg at the time. In Pennsylvania, and they asked me to come out to LA for a meeting with Ryan Coogler. So I drove across the country, not even knowing if I had the job.
Wow.
Just knowing I was going to meet with Coogler. And we sat down and we started talking about films. And then out of nowhere, he was like, okay, here's the scenes you're going to do. So,
that is awesome.
I had no idea that I was even going to start, but they started me the instant we met. So
that was awesome.
How long ago? Like, so I think the film released like February 2016. When do you like come into the process?
I don't know dates.
Yeah, no,
it's really bad with dates. I want to say it was at least a year and a half before it came out.
Wow.
Usually it takes these things a good, I'm usually on a show a good 2 years before they come out sometimes longer if it takes, if distribution, all the post stuff takes longer.
You brought up reshoots too. How does that work with that? Like when they bring you back to like relay out a scene and stuff like that?
Here's the thing is you don't always come back to your show. I've done reshoot jobs that other people have storyboarded,
Wow.
But they've gone through the whole process. They've cut the whole movie together and they're like, crap, we need A, B, and C. We need to add this crap and we just need somebody to figure that out. And
gotcha.
That's when you come back and you're usually doing reshoots for just like a month tops, a few weeks. You're just there to do 1 to 2 scenes that somebody else had already worked on, but you're not even going to look at it because they already kind of know what they want.
Yeah.
By this point, it's very rare that I come back to a show that I worked on previously to do the reshoots. It happens.
Interesting.
But usually it's just a scheduling thing, when they want to do reshoots, I'm on another show.
Right. I know I keep drilling in Black Panther, but like for Black Panther specifically, like what were the sequences you worked on? Was there anything like you're proud of that you like got to creatively come up with?
I liked everything I did on it. The only thing that I would complain about is I never drew the modern Black Panther once.
Oh, really?
In his modern costume. I didn't do any of that because I did a lot of the Killmonger scenes. I mean,
that's still really cool.
His heist, the early Killmonger stuff with 90s Black Panther.
Yeah.
Showing up and like killing his dad and all that. I did a lot. I did that. I did a lot of the sort of dream sequency stuff, the astral plane things.
That sequence is like beautiful. So props to you for that.
And then we did the Warrior Falls sequence where Killmonger kills T'Challa and throws him off the waterfall.
Oh, right.
So and that was T'Challa wearing the sort of Panther mask thing.
Right.
Like I didn't get to do any of T'Challa doing Black Panther-y stuff. Just
Yeah.
just T'Chaka doing Black Panther stuff, which was fine because that was kind of they were basing that on the comics that I read in the 90s.
Yeah. That's really
It
cool.
was fun. Yeah, it was interesting too because the way Marvel works is they don't give you the whole script.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't really know what the whole story was, but I knew what my scenes were about. So
Yeah, I guess your NDA is like so long. If it's like 2 or 3 years.
NDAs are a normal thing. Yeah, there are things I can talk about and things I can't talk about.
Yeah, that kind of brings me to my next segment. If we can't talk about it, it's totally cool. But I wanted to ask about Uncharted because that's how I originally kind of came into contact with you. And I don't. If you can't talk about it, that's totally fine.
No, it's funny that I'm still listed on IMDb as storyboard artist on Uncharted. I worked on Uncharted. Oh God, I don't even know how long ago. It was over 10 years ago. Has to be.
Wow.
Jeez.
This was when Seth Gordon was directing. Seth Gordon is the director of like Baywatch and Horrible Bosses, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Really nice guy. I just did one scene with him. Just we were trying to. I didn't know if they were prepping or if they were still pre-green light. But I did a big action scene where they didn't even tell me it was Uncharted.
Really?
Like, they sent me the script and said, "Would you like to work on this movie? Read this script and let us know if you're available." And I'm reading through it and I'm like, Nathan Drake. And I actually emailed them and said, "Is this an Uncharted movie?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, it is." So I basically did a big action scene where Nathan's on a plane that crashes into a mountain, and then the plane rolls down the mountain, and then all these villains come to take whatever magical, crazy tchotchke he's got that he's carrying. He just tomb raided. Yeah, it was fun. I looked at it not too long ago, and it wasn't as bad as I remember it being. I remember we didn't have a whole lot of time, so
right.
A lot of the sketches are very loose and not as finished as might like, and then it never happened. So
yeah, I think I remember reading something a while ago that like it was supposed to be like Mark Wahlberg was attached to play Nathan Drake like back then.
He might have been,
and then I think because it took so long, it was like in development hell pretty much like for years that like he aged out of the role. So then they brought on Tom Holland. Now they're kind of making it again. And Mark Wahlberg's like Sully, who's like the
Sully?
mentor.
Yeah, he's Sully.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know how that's going to, I'm excited. Yeah. I wonder, I mean, if you're solicited, maybe they're like using your stuff as like reference and like,
I doubt it.
Pasting Tom Holland's face on your work.
I feel like I talked to somebody who did work on it and I asked them if there was a giant plane crash, and they're like, "No, that's not in there." Like,
right. Okay. It's cool you're still listed though.
It's weird. Eventually they'll take me off. Once the movie comes out and they see like, "Oh, this guy didn't do squat," they'll take me off.
Gotcha. That's just interesting that like IMDb has it like listed.
There are some movies that you get listed on that just stick around because they're in development hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no real update.
Development hell, for our audience, anyone that doesn't know, is like it's just a project that like gets delayed, and like maybe will never come out kind of thing. Hello everyone, I'm sorry to interrupt this episode, but if you are enjoying it, please drop a comment on our YouTube channel or leave a review in Apple Podcasts and let us know what job in the film industry you'd want to do if you were given the chance, and we'll try to get someone on the show that has experience there. Thanks. I wanted to ask, like, just for out of all your projects, is there anything like really specific that you are especially proud of? Like, oh, I like drew this and then like it became like this iconic thing in the movie, or even just like a small Easter egg in the movie. You're like, I drew that and like it came to fruition kind of thing.
Well, there's things like that. That's the fun part about being on so early and having the director's ear so soon and so intimately, where you can really sort of push things in a certain way. Or at least suggest maybe the films I did with Mike Doherty are always fun because we boarded the entire thing.
Wow.
Both Trick or Treat and Krampus.
Yeah. Wow.
We boarded everything especially on Trick or Treat. Almost everything we drew together, like the stuff that we came up with together, is pretty much what he shot. It was pretty much all there. Krampus, there were some changes later on due to budgets and stuff, but Krampus is the fun one because that's how David Koechner, is that his name? Have you seen Anchorman?
Yes.
Yeah.
The guy in the cowboy hat in Anchorman who hangs out with Will Ferrell?
Yes. Yeah.
So I was boarding Krampus and there was this character that was loud and blustery, and I happened, while I was drawing, I had Anchorman on.
So you just drew him in like that?
That actor was kind of doing his thing, and I was like, oh yeah, he'd be really good for this character. So I started drawing the character with that actor in mind.
Mhm.
And it went on so long that he eventually got the part.
Wow, that is so cool.
Plays the character, which is really cool, because then you're like, oh, he got that part because of me.
That's so cool.
That's really sweet.
If I can do it once a movie, just once every movie, there be some idea that wasn't there before I got there, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
If I can watch a movie that I worked on and be like, oh, that was me, that's there because of me, then I'm pretty happy. I don't know if you ever saw Cabin in the Woods.
I don't think I have.
It's
I don't think I have either.
sort of a meta horror film.
Okay.
There were some monsters in that movie that I got to design that made it into the final film.
Wow.
And I was always really happy with how that turned out.
That is awesome.
That's really sweet.
It's a lot of little things.
Yeah. It's the little things in life,
I can't say I designed Darth Maul or anything, but I can point to little bits here and there and be like, oh, that was me.
Wow, that's really cool. I did want to ask, because I know a lot of films often have concept artists. I wanted to ask what the difference in your mind between storyboard artists and concept artists are.
Oh, well, concept artists are usually working just with one key frame.
Right.
They're trying to capture one big bombastic moment in a film to help the producers and the studios kind of sell the idea. Be like, this is what it's going to look like. They're doing final finished rendered stuff. The stuff that I'm doing is all story based, very sequential, where we're trying to get from point A to point B and tell the story in a series of images rather than just one. Like the stuff that I do will generally lead up to that big concept piece.
Okay.
A lot of times we'll even have movies take storyboards and then give that to a concept artist and be like, yeah, just paint this really big and nice.
Yeah.
But a lot, because what I do, it has to be done really fast. We don't always get the time to make our drawings as pretty as we would like them. But as long as it serves the purpose of the film, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of along that same vein, I saw on your IMDb that you're a lot of the times you're listed as a storyboard artist, but on I think Shazam it said you were an illustrator. Is there any difference there? Is just the terminology?
It's union terminology. That's
really
stuff that I don't even know the intricacies of that. I'm part of the union. I'm in Local 800, and I'm generally referred to as a senior illustrator.
Okay.
They don't actually use the term storyboard artist.
Oh, okay.
That's interesting.
Within the union. I'm a senior illustrator, and concept artists are also senior illustrators because we're all part of the sort of illustrators section of Local 800. Illustrators and matte artists, we're all kind of lumped in one little thing.
Yeah.
But most films will just refer to me as storyboard artist if I'm lucky enough to get a credit at all. So
yeah. Now we've kind of talked about your career, and now that you're kind of I feel not as close to being in the video store, just kind of going from job to job, maybe every 5 months. Are you at a point now where it's easier to find work and you get to kind of choose the projects you're a part of?
I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
I don't think it. Maybe it has. I think if you talk to people I know, will say it's probably gotten a lot easier for me. I don't think personally it ever gets easier.
Really?
Every time a show ends, you're always sort of wondering, is this the last time I'm going to work?
Okay.
Is anybody going to give a shit?
Yeah.
Unless you've sort of set up the next project. And that's kind of where I'm at, where I'm trying to always kind of keep in the back of my mind, what's the next one going to be? And when can I start it?
Right.
Because you never know what's going to happen. Recently, I just had a show push my start date by a month.
So wow.
Oh crap, what do I do for a month?
Yeah.
I gotta live, but I really want to do this movie, but I've also gotta do. So it's one of those things where you have to juggle, where they're like, well, am I gonna try to find another one, or am I just gonna do nothing for a few weeks while I wait for something to happen? I do find that I get calls more.
Okay.
Not all. My phone's not ringing off the hook by any stretch, but people people tend to remember those of us who do, good work. And
Yeah.
we're not,
Yeah.
I don't tend to be a problem with people, I
That's
try not
great.
to.
That's good.
Some people can be real belligerent or real precious about the work you're doing. And,
Yeah.
I kind of get that, we've got time constraints, we've got budget constraints. There's all this stuff that sometimes, just a quick, goofy sketch is all I have time for. And, and that's the thing that a lot of people, guys like you, won't see. I'm not going to post that crap on Instagram or on my website if I ever get back to it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you kind of want to show off your nice stuff, but every now and then you pull out a sketch or two. Because there was a time, let me tell you a quick story. I had a friend who was working with Ryan Johnson.
Oh wow.
And he was prepping to do Last Jedi.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I was
Jeez.
and I was like, holy crap, I've got an insider.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, you want me to put your stuff on Ryan's desk? And I was like, yes, please.
Yeah,
And
do it.
I gathered my nicest stuff, my most finished, pristine looking boards that somebody could look at and go, oh, this guy's a pro. Yeah. And then I sent it out, and my friend got back to me and was like, yeah, Ryan's really looking for somebody who can do quick, sketchy stuff.
Oh,
It's
no.
like I've got reams of quick, sketchy stuff.
Yeah.
I just didn't know that's what I needed to send. So, yeah, it was funny. Missed out on Last Jedi, but
Yeah. That's another good nugget, though. The wisdom, like that's really
you never
interesting.
know what somebody's gonna want. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
So it actually helps to have the looser, less finished stuff.
Yeah.
Somebody's like, can you do this faster? And be like, yeah, it's gonna look like this. You
Yeah.
know, you can pull up the sketchy stuff and be like, it's gonna look like this. And they're like, that's fine.
Yeah. I kind of want to now move and ask what your advice would be to like someone starting out, like that's interested in kind of like pursuing a career as like a storyboard artist. How would you recommend like they practice and like hone their skills?
Oh, just drawing, lots of drawing.
Yeah.
Just like constantly. Because here's the thing, when you're doing storyboards, you have to be able to draw everything, like literally anything anybody asks you to draw. It doesn't matter what it is. And sure, you can find reference for a lot of that stuff, but a lot of times you just got to be able to whiff it, kind of quick sketch it. It's all about honing speed with clarity, I think, is the important part.
Okay.
What I like to call readable roughs, where you can sketch something fairly fast and everybody can still kind of look at it and know pretty instantly what's going on. So that kind of practice is super important, as well as storytelling skills, being able to look at the language of film and how shots are composed and how cameras move and how the story itself is pushed forward by those elements.
Okay.
You can design sequences that incorporate all these elements and can tell a good story. And that's one of the most important parts, even almost even more so than the ability to draw.
Yeah, it's like the story.
I've seen directors who do their own boards. It makes me sad that I can't work with them, but
Yeah.
but even so, they've got that sort of, they might not be the best artists, but they know the shots they need to push that story forward and to tell it in a really interesting way.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. Like when you see like creatives and filmmakers in general, like storyboard artists working with directors that know and like utilize like specifically like the camera and like how that can help like enhance a story with like certain movements or even like the lighting, how it interacts. Like I think that's really advanced and it's really cool. I don't know, just when people do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would also say if you want to get into something like this, decide if you want to do live action or animation, because they're very different animals.
Okay.
Animation's a lot more work heavy, but it's also a lot looser. Some people are just designed for that. I've done animatic stuff, but I'm really not wired for animation. So it bugs me when I have to draw the same frame, sort of slightly tweaked,
Gotcha.
18 times, where I'm doing backgrounds and foregrounds and everything's moving. Yeah, it can be done. It's just not my forte.
Yeah, that's what I'm more familiar with because I have my degree in animation. So like when I remember back working on my projects in college and having to get those like animatic stuff and stuff. For me, that was always the more painful stuff because I'm like, oh man, like having to move all these layers around and trying to like show
Yep.
all these like unique special like movements, like because they need to show that they're there, but at the same time it's like I know what it's going to be, but like like I still have to show it
Right.
off to like
Yeah, you got to let everybody else know what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can get that. I know to a degree.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
they're different, and the expectations are different, and the interactions with people are just different. And the two things, a lot of people who do live action, they get started in commercials.
Oh,
Oh, really?
I didn't, just because you heard my Guillermo story.
yeah.
But a lot of people they try to get started through advertising, because you can sign up with agents who will just kind of farm you out to different kind of ad jobs, which is, I think, a good way to prepare for film in many ways, because ad frames are generally need to be more finished, and there's generally less to do. You're usually working on a commercial for maybe 1 or 2 days.
Okay.
You're only doing about 20 drawings.
Only. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. How many we do in a day is kind of a fun running gag. Yeah, it's just a way for people to kind of get their foot in the door, I think. More so, unless you know somebody making film, and you kind of jump in that way. There's a lot of different ways to get into working in film. I just think everybody needs to find their path.
Right.
I'm going to do it this way, or I'm going to go over here and try getting in this way, or I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy.
Yep. That's really interesting though. I'm just curious, like how, I guess on an average day, there are no average days, but like how many drawings are you doing if like 20 is like not that much?
Well, right now I try to do around 30 frames
Wow.
a day. But it all depends on what the frame is. If I'm just doing, a couple of people running down a hallway, it's not really that complicated. But if I'm doing a giant thing where you're in a stadium filled with people and 70 people are rushing to one side, the more you have to draw, the longer it takes.
Right.
If you can tell the story simply, then you can get through it a lot faster. But
Yeah.
it all depends on the story.
Right. It all comes back
And
to that.
what's usually your process for that though? Do you do like a rough pass yourself and then go back through to clean it up then, or?
Can you guys see this? This is my book of thumbnails.
Oh wow.
So
Nice.
do these little thumbnail shots of. I don't want to show you too much because I don't want to give anything away. I know you're excited. This book has Blue Beetle and Ms. Marvel boards in it. So.
Oh geez. Okay. I mean, don't worry. I think when I record from Zoom, it's like 250p sometimes. So.
Especially consider these little drawings are mostly for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So that because I like to figure out the entire scene before
Okay.
some people will just start drawing, be like,
Right.
yeah. But I like to figure the whole thing out and be able to see the whole thing in my head first before I start doing, nicer frames. And so I'll thumb out the whole thing. And sometimes I'll just photograph the thumbnails and plop them into Photoshop and use those as underdrawings. And sometimes I'll just look at them and be like, I'm just going to redraw that, and then just redraw it. That's pretty much the whole process, is reading through the script, talking with the director, getting any kind of specific references I need, and then just thumbnailing.
Do you also talk to like layout teams and stuff like that too, or like
It depends.
like character designers?
If those people are on, and I can get reference from those people, I'll talk to them, or somebody will be able to get me their work. So like, if the production designer is on and say I'm working on something that's going to be a set piece where they're going to build a set, I will probably contact the production designer and be like, can I get as much information about this set as I can, so I know where I can put cameras? Because it's better to know rather than for them to be like, well, here's the scene we have, but it's really not going to, these angles aren't going to work because, we don't have a wall here, or we're only shooting from this direction. Because if the set comes later, then usually sometimes boards will get tweaked. Yeah. But a lot of times we're working without that kind of stuff.
That's cool that you have to think about that kind of stuff too, like the mechanical aspect.
It's a lot to consider.
Yeah. No, you really have to kind of. I know people just think of us as little pencil render monkeys or whatever, but you kind of have to put on every hat just a little bit.
Yeah.
you're kind of directing, you're kind of, choosing camera angles, even though it's really hard to draw the difference between a 60 and a 40 or whatever.
Right.
If a director is like, yeah, I'm just going to do this all in a 40, I'd be like, I don't really know what that means. I just draw it. Where do you want the camera and where do you want the character? But anyway, yeah, sometimes you even have to be like, actor and costume designer, vis effects guy, you kind of have to do a little bit of everything, and sometimes you have to be casting. Just throw some characters, throw in some actors just for fun. Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. And the guys who cut animatics, they do even more than that. So
wow, it sounds daunting, but also like it can be like, sounds like very fulfilling and like creative. You get to do a lot of things.
It can be, a lot of times it is when you're doing it, when you're in the midst of it. A lot of times, because you've put so much distance between yourself and that project. By the time it actually comes out, you're like, wait, I did work on this. Is that what we worked? Is that what we talked about? Yeah, that looks right. And I have to pull up the boards and be like, oh yeah, we did do that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, cool.
That's cool.
Because you've already moved on to you're already 3 to 4 projects ahead.
Right.
By the time something comes out.
It's kind of like you get to watch it for the first time with fresh eyes, which is kind of cool.
Kind of, but not.
Yeah.
You know what the story's supposed to be. You know what it was when you worked on it. And then if it changes in dramatic ways, you're kind of like, this feels weird.
Yeah.
This isn't sitting right. But, but sometimes it's also like, wow, you guys got it. Awesome.
That's cool.
And that's when you want to share everything you did with everybody. You're like, look.
Yeah.
Look, WandaVision nailed it.
That's cool. That is awesome. I covered everything I really wanted to talk about. Do either of you have any last minute thoughts or advice for people trying to get in the industry or anything you want to talk about?
Keep trying. Everybody's going to do it different. My way is not the way to do it. You're not going to meet Guillermo at a video store.
Right.
You're just, you might, but most likely you're not.
Yeah. Isn't there I don't even know if there's any blockbusters left. I watched this documentary about
I can't remember the last.
Is there only one left?
Physical media. I think there is one blockbuster
left. It's in Oregon or something.
Yeah, something crazy like that.
Some ladies keeping it.
I don't
open.
even think Guillermo lives in the States anymore. So.
Oh wow! So basically, the advice you're giving is to fly to wherever Guillermo is and just chance run into him and beg for a job.
It was pretty funny once the story came out about how we met. I noticed a lot more people running up to Guillermo and giving him little packets.
Wow. Man, I kind of feel bad for him.
Oh yeah, everybody wants a little bit of this. Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know I was starting a thing, but
a trendsetter.
That's all right. The funny thing is, Guillermo and I haven't worked together since. So
really, oh my gosh.
I tried, but it never worked out.
Yeah.
It just him moving to Canada was a big kick in the pants for us working together.
Yeah.
So that's all right. I've met a lot of other great people that I work with. So.
That's great. Okay, well, is there anything you'd like to promote? Maybe you mentioned your Instagram. Do you want people to go there or no?
I don't care. Just you can Google me. I don't hide.
Okay.
I've got a name that you Google my name, it's going to be me. I'm the only one that pops up for the most part, except maybe that weird actor guy who has the same name as me.
Oh, okay.
But usually my stuff is the stuff that pops up first. So I don't hide on Instagram or anything. Just find my stuff and it all or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Seriously.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Blast.
Post banter. Post banter.
That was a really good interview. Thank you, Simeon, again for coming on the show. And yeah, there were so many nuggets of wisdom in there, a lot of takeaways to be taken away. I don't know, just about the whole luck thing, opportunity meets preparation, and just it's about your network. Yeah, just so much. So thanks again for his insights. Are you ready for patron shout-outs?
Yeah, hit me with them.
Cue the episode stories, music. Boosh got patron Lori, Frank, Rick, Lisa, Evan, Tony. Thank you so much for pledging the tier that gets you this shout-out. If you would like to support us over on Patreon, the link is down in the description. You get episodes early, special benefits, cool perks, all that jazz, and more. The audio episode early. And Yeah, if you would like to leave a review or a comment on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, we will shout them out in this section of the show now. I don't think we have any new ones, which is totally fine, totally tubular. Daniel,
right.
how are you doing? I feel like we haven't talked much this episode because we're just like, vibing.
I'm doing
Interviewing.
pretty good. It's been a long week, it's been a good week. I just got back from Atlanta. I had to sleep in the airport one night, so that wasn't fun. But
hey,
yeah, no,
as
it
we
was
learned
good.
with Simeon, you got to do what you got to do. Like
You gotta do what you gotta
fly
do,
across
you
the
know?
country maybe for like an opportunity. So props to you for doing that, man.
It was still a good week. Really fun time. A lot of fun working on what I was working on. So yeah.
Awesome. All right, you ready for the introduction?
Yeah. Tell me when. But we just talked about what we want to talk about, and now we're done.
Thank you so much for listening. Seriously, really genuinely appreciate it. Again, this is like kind of a transition to like a new format and everything. Yeah, so please bear with us during this change and figuring some stuff out. But really appreciate the support just in general. So thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.